Be ready for BYU Game Day. Download the KSL News Radio app to stream BYU games, plus breaking news during the week. That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Welcome back into Cougar Nation. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you. Cougs are riding high. These are good times in Cougar Nation. BYU takes down Utah 22-21. First victory in Salt Lake since 2006. I mean, this team this year is just built different. It's like that song, They Not Like Us. That is BYU football this year. No other previous BYU team is like this one. I mean, this is a different group than what we've seen before from a Kalani Sitake coach team.
I loved what you said on social media afterwards when you posted them celebrating with BYU fans at Rice Eccles, Team of Destiny. It really feels that way. And special football teams throughout the history of BYU football and arguably in college football as a whole, there are 2 or 3 moments a year where can you get a bounce to go your way? Can you make a critical play? Can you outlast someone when you don't play your best football? BYU has shown on numerous occasions this year they've been up to that challenge, and it does feel like this is a team of destiny because they continue to overcome these obstacles like special teams do.
We only got a little bit more time to take more phone calls, so get your phone calls in, 801-575-8255. Let's get back out to the phone line. Welcome in Ryan from Draper. Ryan, what's on your mind?
Hey, guys. Enjoy the show always. That was such a physical game. I've been looking for injury news today. What are you guys hearing out there about injuries, especially with Braden Keim?
Yeah, Braden Keim is going to be a situation that is going to be one that will be a big storyline going in this week. Kalani did not rule him out for the season, so that's why he's still on the depth chart, and they actually didn't list him as doubtful this week. Whenever there are players doubtful, they get removed from the depth chart for Kalani. So the fact that he's not completely doubtful yet, but I think common sense would say that was a pretty big injury, it felt like. Now, again, Keim did walk off the field, and Jada stepped in replace of him. That was, Jada stepped in nicely. And Kalani's shown a tendency this year that if they can get an extra week of rest from someone, they'll do that. And if that's the case with Keim, and if it's not a doomsday injury, they'll go forward with Jada. They believe in their backup. Some other guys of note, Austin Leausa, offensive lineman, he went down. They're expecting to have him back this week. Got to get some more info on Mark Collins. That's going to be one to monitor. He did get a little bit banged up in that Utah game. Siali Acera was out against Utah. He didn't suit up, nor did linebacker Sione Moa. We did see the return of running back Sione Imoa, who got his first carry since the Kansas State game. And then Connor Pay will be a story. Kalani says it's close. Connor, of course, went to social media and said he's back. He's excited to be back for the Kansas game, but they want to be cautious with him because they know he's got aspirations beyond BYU in regards to the NFL. But that's kind of the injury tidbits and kind of snapshot of players right now that are banged up and monitoring going into this week.
If Connor can go, I'd love to see him go. I thought Bruce Mitchell did a nice job filling in at that center position while Connor was hurt. But Bruce Mitchell got outplayed by the Utah defensive line. I think that was a game where you saw his inexperience come through. And that's to be expected from someone who has not spent a lot of time in that position. Remember, Bruce Mitchell has not spent his entire time at BYU as an offensive lineman. So there's a learning curve there. There's a lot to build upon. I think Bruce can be a great center down the road. But in that game, Mitch, I felt like Bruce got outplayed. And if you can get Connor Pay back and get that leadership and all that experience, you do that as soon as possible.
And I feel like that's one of maybe the areas of where fans are feeling maybe a slight concern coming out of the game is that you face probably the best defensive line you've faced to date, and you struggled as an offensive line. It stretches. I mean, they had moments where they were also really good in pass protection and created the time necessary for Jake Retzlaff to operate. So I think you're right, Matt, that if they can get Connor Pay back, they got to go forward with that. And Connor's pretty transparent when it comes to his body and his injuries. And if he wants to go and he's been cleared by doctors that he can go, you go ahead and make that happen because, and I also think, too, that he knows that this is his last year at BYU. He wants to continue being part of this special team, and Bruce is going to be a stud in the future at that center position. He's probably the guy in 2025, but you need the potential NFL player back in that lineup. And then it gives BYU the luxury to where you can maybe kick out Lea Usa to right tackle as a backup to Jada, bring in Sonny Makasini as well, who stepped in for Lea Usa. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on as well. Let's get back out to the phone line. Andrew from Eagle Mountain, what's your takeaway from BYU's big win over Utah?
Well, so me and Dad was there at the game, and, I was just very unimpressed the way BYU's offensive line played. I mean, they've done so much better all season long. And, not to get into the weeds about play calls and the way the officiators, somebody needs to have a hard conversation about our offensive line.
Appreciate the call. BYU gave up 3 sacks to Utah, and again, I do think it was the best defense they've faced, and you did deal with some reshuffling with some injuries, and you don't have Connor Pay. Lea Usa was down, and Braden Kime was down, so to kind of get a patchwork deal and to still move down the field, I think you got to give some credit. Give TJ Woods some time with getting recalibrated this week, and they got to bounce back quick. I mean, that's going to be one of the things that's interesting, Matt, is that I've been kind of worried about this Kansas week, no matter what the circumstances were regarding Kansas, because there's always a little bit of a hangover after Utah. We've seen that in previous years when the game was played in September. It took a little bit of time to kind of regather yourself. It's going to be the same way probably for Utah too. So, hopefully that offensive line and TJ Woods, who's done a really good job this season, can bounce back in a hurry.
I do want to get into the weeds on play calling, unlike Andrew from Eagle Mountain. I was not impressed, Mitch, and I think Aaron Roderick has done a nice job this year. He's really bounced back because I felt like these offenses and his play calling was taking a step back every single year from its peak in 2020. Those final 3 drives, they, being Utah, blitzed every single play. And all BYU did was go max protect, have the running back help pick up the blitz, and hope that 3 receivers down the field could make something out of some long developing play. Where were the blitz beaters? Where were the simple crossing routes and throws and screen passes to dial back the pressure? It's unreasonable to think that your offensive line is going to hold up every single play when Utah is blitzing every single play. We needed a wrinkle. We needed a special. We needed a screen. We needed something to help these guys because Utah was just pitting their ears back, Mitch, and coming after Jake. And I thought there were opportunities, especially in that fourth quarter, to hit them with an underneath route. And maybe he gets tackled for 3 yards. I don't know. Or maybe he breaks that tackle and you get a first down. There were so many long developing plays being asked of this offensive line in that fourth quarter to try and get chunk yardage. It just wasn't happening against a great Utah defense. I didn't love the play calling in that game. I can't sugarcoat it.
Jake Retzlaff finished with 219 yards, 15 of 33 passing. That's a 45% completion rate. I was surprised that BYU did not run the ball more, at least attempt to try to run, with L.J. Martin. Only 11 carries, 68 yards, 6.2 yards per carry. He had a long of 39. I just think, again, you got to give the ball to L.J. Martin. That guy is a star running back, and even though you're facing a tough physical defense, don't be afraid. I mean, L.J. Martin is one of those guys that can overcome some underwhelming play on the offensive line. He's that good of a football player, and I thought he looked good. And that was good, too, because he did get banged up in that UCF game, and the limited carries that he did get, I liked what I saw from L.J. Martin. You got to give credit, too, to Rapati, who had that big fourth down pickup as well. That was huge for BYU. So, the offensive play calling, left a little bit to be desired, quite a bit. And, you hope that this is not going to become like a blueprint for teams on how they attack BYU, and suddenly these last 3 games become a real grind. Hopefully BYU can get back to the high-powered offense that they were. It really all throughout Big 12 play this season. I mean, they were consistent, 30-plus points per game in Big 12 play. They got to get back to that if they want to close out this regular season with that perfect record and ultimately get to Arlington. We're taking a break, and this show is sponsored by Central Bank, serving Utah County for over 133 years with trusted service, modern technology, and personalized care. Central Bank, proud sponsor of Cougar Nation. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you. We'll take more of your phone calls. Last chance, 801-575-8255, right here on KSL News Radio.